All right, I hope you're ready to lose your minds. It's my honor to introduce Team 8, Team Shizzo.
Hello everyone, we are Team Shizzo, and this is our VR puzzle horror game Oblivicy. I'm Jackson Weiser, the producer and a programmer.
I'm Zeb Smith, another programmer.
My name is Q McLean, another programmer.
I'm Marsha, I'm the artist.
I'm Tanya, the other artist.
I'm Dylan, I did sounds and music.
So I have a question for all of you. What scares you the most? Because for me as a child, it was the dark, and stuff changing rapidly around me. I don't know, that's pretty common human what I hear. And that is exactly what our puzzle game aims to replicate. So taking place in a house and its basement, it deals with non-Euclidean spaces, meaning that wherever you enter, wherever you look, when you turn back and look at it again, it might be different. Here is a demo to demonstrate what we are talking about. So, as you may see from that demo, our game is rather confusing, and it also has a lot of things that make it unique to VR. So, some of the core things about our game. So, starting with VR development specifically, there was some unique challenges with making the player experience work with that. So first, our doors. They are what connects every room. Here's a couple comparisons from the start of our development to what it looked like in the trailer. This helps us transition between different puzzles as well as mask our illusions. So they were important to get working pretty early on. Yeah, it works perfectly there.
And then the next thing that we have is an inventory system like you saw in the demo. And what's interesting about our inventory system is that it's in 3D space. So the player has to physically reach in and grab the items that they want from the inventory, just to kind of bring like immersion and like kind of strategic values to our game. And you can like transport like many different items to really just like branch out what kind of puzzles that we can create.
And then finally, to increase immersion, we used hand models, which were animated and by us, but we used the models from the default Oculus website, and increase immersion and like feeling like you were there.
Oblivicy being a VR game gives the player a much more immersive relationship with the camera. And because of that, we took advantage of that to create puzzles that tricked the player's line of sight. And by layering these puzzles that were initially confusing and have reality warping, with little rules and patterns that they could notice, we could allow them to teach themselves how to solve each puzzle and escape, with these mechanics building on each other.
And as you can see, there are some of our initial designs and how they turned out in the final build.
walk you through the art direction, design process behind mobility. We chose a realistic style with a strong emphasis on traces of human absence. During the modeling phase, we paid a close attention to the layout and personality of each spaces. We asked ourselves what kind of person must live here, what kind of living habit they might have had. This helped us adding up privacy and the kind of authenticity to the room we designed.
And when it comes to texturing, we move into Substance Painter and continue the theme of intimacy and wear. Our goal wasn't to make the scene look instantly scary, but rather like capture one's love space. So we lean towards warmer color tones, using colors such as beige, cream white, and soft colors. But for larger structural elements, such as the wall, we use clearer tone tones to create spatial pressure and ease. But we also face many technical challenges. Some of our UV maps are incorrectly unwrapped, and we have issues with texture map compatibility between Unity and Substance Painter. But with the help of our TAs and many YouTube tutorials, we overcame the struggles.
Thinking the most challenging part, lighting. We both have limited experience in this area, so it was a huge learning curve. We had so many questions, including how can we preserve objects' detail while still creating a sense of darkness and tension, since we are building a horror game. So we started by using a mix of spotlight, point light, and directional light, and using 3-point lighting rules as our baseline. And then the greenish yellow color scheme became our bright green theme because it helps adding a scary atmosphere, but also lighting up the object's detail without overwhelming the environment.
And in order to enhance this effects, we also use post-processing, like subtle emission to help object glow slightly. And because this is a VR game, it's really important for us to balance between backlighting and real-time lighting. Because too much real-time lighting will kill the performance, but too much backlighting will make the environment look stiff and lifeless. So we spend a lot of time fine-tuning this balance. So basically, these are all the art assets, and they can be reused in the later gameplay section.
And because sometimes navigating 3D space in VR can be nauseating, we made an options menu where you can toggle a vignette just to help with that. In addition to a couple of sliders to change the music audio level and the sound effects audio level.
So for the music of this game, I tried to make it as eerie as I could. So using instruments like pianos with lots of reverb and echoes on them. And at the same time, I tried to capture sort of like a homely melody, sort of warm. So the melody, it feels natural when you play it by itself, but I added pitch shifting to make it feel more distorted. And something I'm really proud of is the way we implemented random noises. So there's a list of random noises that could play throughout the game, throughout specific points in time, and it'll cycle through one of them and play just to heighten the immersion. So here's a few of them.
So one of the main things that we got feedback for during interims was to focus more on kind of an overarching story. We pitched it originally as a person coming back from their day at work and to their house, so we really focused on that. So we started the game inside the house, the full house model itself, and with the tutorial.
At the start of the game, the player comes home after a long day of work. They go and prepare food, but after checking off the task list and returning back to eat dinner, they find that the food is somehow already rotted. So they have to throw it away and just go on with their day. But in this tutorial, the player is introduced to 3 main mechanics they'll use throughout the game. They're introduced to grabbing items, using the inventory, and opening doors, and most importantly, the secret one, the idea that nothing in this world is consistent.
The bulk of our game takes place in the basement, which is where all the puzzles are. In this section, we really wanted to focus on how the mechanic would evolve between puzzles. So we first started by laying them all out with our original ideas. And we needed to focus on how the player would learn about how a mechanic would work and what the limits of it were.
So this is our illusion system. We like to call it warping. And what this system does is it checks to see if the player's in a specific area and if they're not looking at a point or a group of points. And if they're not looking at those points, it'll do the action that you've told it to. And we've made the system very dynamic. So we can just drag and drop it in from Unity, and it'll kind of like do that action already. And we made it so dynamic, so it's so super easy to create different puzzles, modify puzzles, and change things around after the interim presentation.
And as you saw at the end of our trailer, the last section is the chase sequence. Once again, this is technically labeled as a horror game, so we really wanted to put a horror sort of sequence into it.
This is the monster sound. So I tried to make it something the players don't want to be around, just to heighten that sense of chase. So I made it intentionally like distorted, weird, like garbled noise.
So how did this entire project go for us? First of all, things went well. We communicated very well as a team. We all share very similar senses of humor because we found a lot of stuff we did in this funny somehow. We also were all very dedicated to this idea. We all really loved it when we originally pitched it. So we all brought our own ideas into it and really made like a one big collaborative project, which I think we're all really happy with. What could have gone better? Over-scoping, I think, was probably one of our bigger problems, or scope creep. We kind of were in the perspective of we can always add more, and people in our group and outside of our group kept suggesting puzzles that we could add. So it was kind of difficult to manage that. And then on top of that, of course, learning VR into like this kind of style of game was a challenge for all of us. But thank you so much for watching.